Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, mentally challenged man missing. The family of Kentish Daly is pleading with the public to help find him more than 2 weeks after he vanished from his Daytona home in Portmore, St. Catherine. Daly, who is in his early 60s, is mentally challenged and was last seen on July 6 wearing blue shorts, a blue merino, and blue slippers. His sister, June Delop, said that the uncertainty surrounding his disappearance has left the family heartbroken and deeply worried. "Me stress from him gone, me just stress. I'm a little brother and me love him so. From him gone, me can't eat, me can't sleep," Delop told the news. "It hard, really hard, because me no know if him okay or nothing." She described Daly as short and slim. He lives with his 94-year-old mother, and Delop said she last saw him the day before he disappeared. "I carried food for him and mommy, and me and him talk like normal. Him never look like nothing was wrong. That's why me so shocked when me hear say him just leave the yard and gone missing the next day," she said. She also explained that roughly 3 years ago, Daly had disappeared for about a week but was found by passers-by. That discovery could not have been more timely as he was dehydrated and not in the best condition. Delop explained her brother had previously lived with her, so they share a very close bond. She suspects that he may have wandered off. "Him not aggressive or violent, him easy to get along with," she explained. "We just want him come home safe. That's all we're praying for." Since Daly's disappearance, the family has searched across several communities, hospitals and shelters, but so far there has been no sign of him. "I would really appreciate it if the public could help us find him," Delop pleaded. "Even if you just think you see somebody who look like him, please say something. It might be him." Anyone with information about Kentish Daly's whereabouts is being urged to contact the nearest police station, the police emergency number 119, or his sister June Delop at 876-589-5202. Government urged to implement a policy to support Jamaicans facing possible U.S. deportation. An immigration attorney is calling for the implementation of a policy that will support Jamaicans who face a possible deportation from the U.S. as the Donald Trump immigration dragnet intensifies. This comes after Jamaican Orville Etoria was deported to Eswatini in southern Africa for past crimes. Etoria was in May 1997 convicted for second-degree murder and criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree. According to an article released in the New York Carib News, Etoria served the time at the notorious Sing Sing Correctional Facility in upstate New York. The column says Etoria pursued higher education in prison and later enrolled in a master's program at the New York Theological Seminary, graduating in 2018. He was enrolled in 2021. Despite turning his life around, Etoria has been labeled among the most barbaric criminals by a U.S. official. It is on this premise that immigration attorney Winston Tucker says it is time for strategic advocacy and a policy that will provide a robust support mechanism for those in the diaspora in need of help. Speaking with the news on Wednesday morning, he explained that Etoria was spared deportation by previous administrations since an order of removal is believed to have been in effect since 2009.
That order was still outstanding. It was not challenged from what I gathered, and I presume the immigration judge and government attorney, along with whatever representation he had, would have ascertained that he did not derive citizenship through any of his parents' time, now that they have a budget item that represents remittance line, and see if they can have programs that can be useful to those who support the country through remittances and sometimes might end up in difficult times. They have to now look at the record and see that at the point that his mother was sworn in as a U.S. citizen, he was one over 18. And if that was the case, then he cannot claim that he's a U.S. citizen.
But what about being returned to Jamaica, though?
That is an issue that the Jamaican government should take up with the government of the United States and wherever he is.
5 men killed in Jacksonville police operation identified. The police have released the names of the 5 men fatally shot during a police operation on Jacksonville Road, St. Andrew on Monday. They are 23-year-old Deleon Pusey of Rectory Lane in Maypen, Clarendon, 26-year-old Shamar Edwards, a mason of Padmore District, Red Hills, St. Andrew, and 30-year-old Rashawn Hibbert of Yallas, St. Thomas. The other men are 32-year-old Jabari Williams, otherwise called Wani, of Park Lane, Kingston 19, and Xavier Hemming, otherwise called Ben, of a Park Lane address. The men were shot dead by the police when they went into the community to carry out a contract killing. 4 weapons, including an M16 rifle, were seized during the incident. The police say they have also seized an additional firearm linked to Monday's foiled murder plots. The firearm, a 6-Sawyer 9mm pistol with 15 rounds of ammunition, was seized during a secondary operation on Tuesday afternoon. Commentator warns of possible political violence as campaign rhetoric heats up. Political commentator Lloyd B. Smith is warning that there could be political violence leading up to the general election due to recent comments from the platforms of both major political parties on the campaign trail. Representatives of the 2 parties have been complaining about the removal or defacement of their political posters. Several complaints have also been filed with the Office of the Political Ombudsman over utterances that potentially breached the political code of conduct. Speaking with the news on Wednesday, Mr. Smith said he is concerned about the rising temperature coming out of the campaigns.
The rhetoric coming from both political platforms so far has tended to be very incendiary at times, and as a result of that, it is what I would say giving raw meat to the diehard who will grab it and run with it, and one can expect as the election campaign heats up that there may well be spurts of violence. Already we are having quite a lot of violent speeches. In terms of physical violence, that to me is just around the corner, because I don't think that the leaders and the followers are paying enough attention to substance, but rather going for theatrics. I would hope that the political ombudsman would be more incisive and deliberative in what he or she is doing or saying, because so far what we see there is a kind of shadow boxing. Reports are made or we hear both parties appealing to the ombudsman, but what is coming out of the office of the ombudsman in itself is not very encouraging either. The political ombudsman really needs to read the right act to both parties and do so fearlessly, because unless that is done, we could see a greater upsurge in violence, not just verbally but physically.
Political commentator Damian Gordon said the rhetoric coming from both the camps on the campaign trail reflects the culture of political campaigning in Jamaica. He, however, cautioned the political representatives to temper their tone and avoid inciting violence by their supporters.
I will say today there has been no reported act of political violence, even though obviously the language coming from the political platform has not necessarily been exemplary, but I've not heard of any report of any politically motivated violent act having taken place to date. I do, however, agree with Lloyd that some of the things that have been said within the context of a political history of violence, and given the context of Jamaica, in a high violent society, you want to err on the side of caution and not say anything that could potentially contribute to party supporters engaging in violence or acts of intimidation and so forth.
Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.